Hello everyone, welcome to The Evolution of Horror, a podcast that looks at the evolution and history of the horror genre by looking at particular subgenres one series at a time. Now currently, we're in the middle of a break, a bit of a hiatus. Our last season on alien horror movies finished a few weeks ago, and our next series on vampire movies will be kicking off later on this year. But I thought I would bring you all a little bonus Valentine treat. What you're about to hear is an episode that went out to patrons last Valentine's Day. So a year ago, I got together with Stevie Webb and Becky Dark, my dream warriors, and we discussed My Bloody Valentine and Valentine. Now, both these movies last year were celebrating anniversaries. So what you're about to hear is the completely unedited version of the episode that went out on Patreon last year. And so some of it will sound a bit dated because we'll be talking about how the movies were celebrating their anniversaries and various other things that obviously have changed and are not the case this year. So just be aware of that before listening to the episode. And for anyone out there who's not a patron and has never heard any of our Patreon episodes, this is the kind of stuff that you get. So if you're into it, then make sure you sign up. Patreon.com/evolution of horror. For $5, that's about £3 per month, you can get access to about 150 similar episodes to the one you're about to hear. And these Dream Warriors episodes, which is what we call sort of me, Becky and Stevie when we get together to discuss kind of silly 80s slashers, they are always a little bit more irreverent, a little bit sillier than the sort of deep dive academic conversations that you get on the main feed. So just wanted to warn you of that before you listen to the next 2 hours. So please enjoy last year's Patreon Valentine's special.
Once upon a time, on a sad Valentine, in a place known as Mine, a legend began. Every woman and man would always remember the time, and those who remained were never the same. You could see the fear in their eyes. Once every year, as the 14th draws near, there's a hush all over the town.
Happy Valentine's and welcome back to another bonus episode of The Evolution of Horror. This week we are celebrating all things Valentine's by discussing two Valentine slasher classics, which weirdly are both celebrating key anniversaries this year. So we've got My Bloody Valentine from 1981, which was released 40 years ago this week, and Valentine from 2001, which was released 20 years ago this week. What better time to discuss these movies back to back? We will be discussing both films in spoilerific detail. I would urge you to give them a watch if you get a chance. I will say that if you're in the UK, the version of My Bloody Valentine that is streaming for free on Amazon Prime is the cut version, and it's heavily cut to the point where I would recommend not checking that out and seeking out the uncut version because it's a much better experience. So I assembled my dream warriors as ever, Stevie Webb and Becky Dark, to discuss these two brilliantly fun movies in depth. So please sit back, relax and enjoy our EOH Valentine's special.
They say on a Valentine's Day is a curse that'll live on, and no one will know as the years come and go of the horror from long time ago. And no one will know as the years come and go of the horror from long time ago.
Hello, Stevie Webb.
Hello, roses are red, violets are blue. I'm not a poet, and neither are either of the killers in these films.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. No pressure, Becky, but hi, Becky. What's your intro?
I'm hungover as fuck, so hi. And this may not be my best work, so strap in, lads.
I'm sure it will be. Just hats off to you for being here and being able to talk coherently. At what time did you get to bed last night?
This morning, 6.
This morning, 6. 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Congratulations and well done for being here and being alive.
Oh well, Yeah, I mean, you said well done for, what did you say? Like, coherent. Like, listen, I mean, honestly, I can barely string a fucking sentence together.
I take it
And
back.
you're also going to have to put up with a little bit of popcorn crunching because I'm trying to elevate my, get some salts back into me.
Yeah, good.
Levels.
Good idea. Let me start off by asking you guys about Valentine's Day. Stevie, how do you feel about this day in general? Like, do you celebrate Valentine's Day? Is it like a day that you kind of do anything for?
Well, depending what's going on in my life, I've got a good excuse whether I acknowledge it or bypass it because it's also my mum's birthday. So if I can never find it depressive if I'm alone because I just make it about my mum. So it's never been that big a deal to me. So it's always just been my mum's birthday. So that's my excuse.
Mama Stevie.
Happy birthday, Stevie's mum.
Yeah.
Becky, what about you? You're married. Do you guys still do Valentine's Day stuff together?
Yeah, we do. So we don't do like presents and stuff. I like a Valentine's card. I like a card. I feel like that's just a nice sort of gesture. And what we normally do is like go out for like a really nice meal, have a couple of bottles of wine, something like that. So this year, I think we're probably just going to get some like steaks in, cook ourselves something a bit slap up, and then probably play a board game.
Yeah.
Get an early night. Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm excited.
That's pretty much exactly my plan as well. And yeah, me and Rihanna always go for a meal and stuff like that. I remember last year we went to this really lovely like Thai restaurant in Soho, and back in the before time, and we were having this lovely meal, and then this incredible looking human being came in with this massive glittery jacket and stuff, and we were like, oh my god, who is this person? Anyway, then they turn around and it's Jill Nolan, the host from Don't Point That Horror at Me, and Becky's best mate, and we were like, oh my god, it's Jill. Just swans in looking like the most fabulous person in the whole restaurant.
She was on a Valentine's date with our friend Harriet, and that is just like the absolute like quintessential Jill moment, that like somebody who knows her, because Mike knows Jill, so just sort of like looks across a restaurant and this vision in sequins is sort of, flouncing her way through. Like, oh my God, who is this? It's like, oh, well, obviously it's Jill. Like, of course it is.
Of course.
Of course it is. Of course it is. So I don't know how hopefully you'll be happy about this, / excited, but I'm going to kick things off again like I did at Christmas with a little quiz, with a little Valentine's quiz. I love that you both still look so shocked. I love it.
I genuinely
can
wasn't
I tell
expecting
you,
it.
Oh, good.
Neither was I. This is the third time in a row you've done this, and I've not expected, and I've just realised every other time you ask for a kill count as well, and why haven't I thought ahead?
I'm so glad.
This is ridiculous.
I'm so glad, because I thought maybe I'll do that again, and I thought they're gonna have 100% prepared this time.
I didn't either, so don't worry.
Oh, amazing! I love it. How much can I keep this up? It's brilliant. So, little Valentine's quiz. We'll do it in the same way we did the Christmas one. If you think of the answer, shout your name out and give me the answer. Okay. Here we go. So 10 questions. The first 5 are all of a similar ilk. I'm going to name 2 characters that are involved in some sort of romance or relationship, and you need to tell me the horror film that these 2 characters are from. Okay.
Okay.
Question 1. Your 2 characters are Ed and Lorraine.
Stevie. The Conjuring.
The Conjuring. Oh, so quick.
So
quick. Of course, that is Ed and Lorraine Warren, the Warrens from The Conjuring. Very good, Stevie.
Guys, I just
Thanks very
scalded
much.
my mouth on my tea so badly.
Oh no, not another ailment.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, here come your second romantic couple in horror. Charles and Tiffany.
Stevie.
Oh, Becky.
Oh, I think Stevie was first again.
I
then.
did. That would be the post-Child's Play Chucky franchise.
Very good. I tried to make it trickier by saying Charles instead of Chucky.
Charles
but...
Lee Ray, who is the killer possessing the doll Chucky.
Very good. Okay, here come your third couple. Here we go. Seth Brundle and Veronica.
Oh, Becky.
Becky.
It's David Cronenberg's The Fly.
Correct. Very good.
Be afraid, be very afraid.
Tragic romance.
What a film.
What a fucking film. I might just go have a little cry to that later.
Yeah.
So, okay, very good. 2-1 to Stevie. Here comes question 4. It's another Veronica. Veronica and JD.
Becky.
Heathers
Heathers.
is correct. Oh, I love this. It's neck and neck.
It's on.
Your last one. This is quite a tricky one. Here we go. Patricia Bradley and Johnny Bartlett.
I know that. I know that. I mean, I clearly don't, but I do.
I don't.
Steve is having a little moment.
Oh my God.
I've got another clue for you. I'm going to name the two actors that play them.
Yes.
Jake Busey and Dee Wallace. Steve is like, oh my God, Dee Wallace.
It's another Dee Wallace one.
Becky. The Frighteners.
Yes!
Yes!
Piece of Jack.
So good. They are the homicidal killer couple from
Oh my
The
God, I never
Frighteners.
would have got that in a million years from the couple name, from the character names, but yeah.
I know. I thought I'd finish on a trickier one. Oh my God,
Very
it's
good.
neck and neck. You've got 5 more questions, and these are of different types. Okay, so
I'm still in the game.
Fun.
You're
Fun,
still
fun,
in the
fun.
game. It's 10 questions altogether. The next 5 are you're going to receive a clue about a horror film, but it's in the style of a Valentine's poem. Okay.
Oh, yes!
Oh my God!
Here we go. Roses are red, violets are blue. I'll gut you like a fish with my best buddy, Stu.
Stevie.
Scream
Scream.
is correct. Very good.
Mike, did you write these yourself?
I wrote these myself about half an hour ago, okay? So they're a bit ropey in places. Here we go. So it's 3-3, isn't it? It's 3-3. Incredible. Here we go.
Yeah.
Question 7. Roses are red, violets are blue. Say my name 3 times and I'll come
Stevie.
to you. Stevie.
Candyman.
It's not Candyman. Say my name 3 times and I'll come to you.
Oh, shit.
Becky.
Beetlejuice.
Yes!
I knew that was going to get someone. I was like, oh.
I jumped the gun. It's 5 times Candyman, isn't it?
5 times. Oh my God, this is tense. All right, 4-3 to Becky. Here we go. Question 8.
Okay.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I'll attach you to your friend and make you eat their poo. Stevie.
The human centipede.
Correct.
I'll attach you to your friend. I didn't allow my brain to properly accept what you just said before I won the round, and now I'm getting it.
Becky's gone.
I'm dead.
She's gone.
He's killed me off.
Okay. All right, so it's 4-3, is it now? To
4-4.
I've lost track. 4-4 to both of you. 4-4.
I think that's how it works. Yeah.
Fucking hell. Oh God, this is going to go well today, isn't it? Okay, here comes question 9. Roses are red, violets are blue. Come with me for a naked morning run in London Zoo.
Stevie.
Oh, Becky.
Oh, that was Stevie.
American Werewolf in London.
Correct.
Thank you.
Oh. 5-4 to Stevie.
Oh my
Here we go.
God.
Final question.
I don't think I've ever won one. Becky's always won. So,
Roses are red, violets are blue. If you want me, you get my deformed homicidal brother too.
Stevie.
Basket
case.
Basket case is correct.
I'm
Stevie
so
is our
happy with
winner.
that. Get it in. Happy Valentine.
Well done,
Happy
mate.
Valentine's
Well
Day,
done,
everybody.
mate.
That was very good. And
Mike.
an excellent performance from a half-dead, hungover Becky as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
considering, you know.
I'm not going to lie. When you sprung a quiz on me, I was like,
This is not what I
this is
signed up
not
for.
the time. But my natural competitiveness in all things general knowledge just like kicked in and carried me through. Stevie, congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
Mike,
Thank
those
you.
were fucking incredible.
Oh,
That was
good,
brilliant.
Good. I was just trying to come up with words that rhymed with blue.
Ooh, yeah.
And so I came up with poo, zoo, and then I was just trying to come up with like retrofitting clues for
That
each
was
one. you know?
Genius.
Right, okay. Let's do it, shall we? Let's get on these 2 films. We're going to kick things off with a film celebrating its 40th anniversary this week. It's like we planned this. It's amazing. So let's talk about My Bloody Valentine from 1981.
In this town on Valentine's Day, everybody loses their heart.
Roses are red, violets are blue. One is dead, and so are you.
It can't be happening again.
Stop!
It can't be happening again.
What's going on Valentine Bluffs. It looks like Harry Warden's back in town.
It happened once. It happened twice. Cancel the dance or it'll happen twice. My Bloody Valentine.
The town of Valentine Bluffs hasn't had their annual Valentine's Day dance for 20 years, since a mining accident left 8 workers trapped in the mine. One miner, Harry Warden, survived for 6 weeks feeding on the bodies of his former co-miners and losing his sanity. After release from the mine, he murdered those whose negligence caused the accident and vowed to cause more bloodshed if the traditional dance were ever to be staged again. 20 years later, the dance is restored, and as promised, Valentine Bluffs is plagued by murder.
Oh, lovely.
That was great.
Very, very good. That could be on the back of the VHS cover, I think, couldn't it? That was great. So, let me ask you both what you thought of this, first of all. Becky, what did you think of My Bloody Valentine?
I really like this film, but... So I've seen it twice now. I saw it relatively recently for the first time, and I liked it a lot. But my Letterboxd review at the time was something along the lines of like really good standard stuff, like but not enough gore. Like the kills weren't enough. And then I watched it again for this. Again, similar level of enjoyment. And then when the three of us are chatting over text, Stevie pipes up and mentions that he's about to watch the film and making sure that he's watching the uncut version. And I was like, excuse me, what's happening here? And what has happened, boys, is I've watched the version that's on Amazon Prime, just rented it off that. And they fucking cut it to ribbons. And so I just found it really interesting that like my main criticism about it was the gore's just not enough. The kills aren't kind of extreme enough. And it's because they've taken all the good bits out.
It's so ridiculous. Why have Amazon Prime done this?
I don't know. But I want my money back.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I was sold those 2 rentals on false pretenses.
Yeah. I mean, surely the point of that film, right, is to watch the kills. And yeah, that's such a shame that it's been massacred. Stevie, what about you? What do you think of My Bloody Valentine?
This is only the second time I've seen it. And like most films that I saw in my childhood, I see it with very different eyes 20 years on. And actually, Becky, I didn't get to see the uncut version. I had these images in my head of certain deaths, and it got to about the 4th death, and I was like, hang on, have I made this up? And I had this image in my head, and I looked it up, and I was right. So it turns out it's actually 9 whole minutes cut from this film. Fuck. And all of that is gore. 9 minutes. If you just imagine back to back 9 minutes gore and killing.
Like 9 minutes of all the good stuff.
Yeah, it's a fuck of a lot. So it's left as a shell of a movie. I mean, these 9 minutes that were cut, this version that we saw, Becky, was still reviewed as way too gory and disgusting and shocking. So imagine what they would have been like if these 9 minutes were in it. And it's actually quite difficult to find the uncut version because for a long time, for decades, they thought it was really cutting room floor stuff and they'd never find these cut bits, but it was recovered only something like 2009, I think. I want to say. So I don't know the actual date, but something like that. So I had a similar experience to you, Becky. But I had these images in my head, so I went and found them of these death scenes that were missing. And I think it really shows you what kind of film it is without the gore. So it's very much you're meant to watch it for the gore, and without it, it's fine, it's silly, it's 80s, it's questionable gender politics and all the stuff you'd come to expect from 1981. But without the gore, I think it suffers personally. But tell me, Mike, you did get to see the proper version, right?
Yeah, I was so lucky because I hadn't rewatched it yet when we had this conversation. And so if it wasn't for you, Stevie, mentioning that, I wouldn't have. But I was like, shit, well, in that case, I'll make sure I track down, and I did track down the uncut version for when I watched it. And I'm the same as you, Stevie. This was the second time I'd ever seen it. I first saw it when I was a teenager, when I was kind of going through all of the 80s slashers. And I remember enjoying it. And I watched it again, and I had fairly like kind of, my expectations were that it was just going to be yet another one of these types of films. I loved this film. I think this is possibly, maybe my favourite 80s slasher that isn't a Friday the 13th film. I absolutely love it. And maybe that is because of the experience I had watching it uncut. But also, like, in some ways I kind of disagree about the rest of it. Like, I think this film is creepy, and it's Canadian. It's got that, like... It's got that kind of Canadian horror vibe where I actually felt some actual legit tension at times and some characters that I actually didn't hate. And I just loved it. I had this kind of like folkloric kind of, sort of backstory behind it. And I thought the mines were creepy, and then there's a lot of like random gumph and, romance with all these characters and I don't know who's who and everything else. But... yeah, I loved the general atmosphere of it. I thought the story was cool, and I thought the kills in the version I saw were fucking amazing as well. So it's a slightly unfair. We've all had different experiences with this, but I fucking loved it. It is like top tier for me. Thought it was so good.
I have to agree with you, Mike, about like the rest of the film, and I think that's probably why that first sort of experience that I had was like, I really enjoyed it. But I think the enjoyment that I got out of it was legit. And there's the characters and the kind of like B plots and stuff do feel a bit more kind of rounded, a little bit more weighty. Like the characters, they're not quite as one-dimensional as they are in a lot of slashes. And like... I don't know, like there were a couple of moments as well, like with the sort of, I mean, I know we'll get into it, but the sort of romance bits that like I got a bit of a like pang, like I really kind of empathized with them. Like I really, I mean, a lot of it's a bit sort of lads, because it's quite a macho film. But yeah, I don't know. I almost think that it's testament to the rest of the movie that even without the mega gory kills, I still really liked it.
Yeah, there was just something about the general kind of vibe of it that I really loved. The creepy kind of, I don't know, the kind of bleak location and everything.
Yeah, the setting and the mask, well, the outfit of the killer, things like lots of it was very original, I think. And also remember, this is 81, so it's not. There haven't been slews and slews and slews of these films yet. It's nearing the middle of that that time, that slasher boom. But you'd had Prom Night and you'd had Terror Train, obviously, in the Friday the 13th, a couple of those. So it wasn't tired yet.
Yeah. It didn't feel like yet it had become almost self-parody at this point. Like it feels like it's trying to make a legit good horror film, I think, which I kind of love about it. There's something of it that reminds, and maybe it's just the Canadian thing, I don't know, but there's something of it that reminded me a bit of something like Black Christmas in a way, more than some of these like 80s ones as well.
I hear that.
I really loved it. So we'll do what I'm gonna, seeing as you guys haven't actually prepared an answer to this, I'm gonna spring a kill count challenge on you, and we'll whiz through some of the kills, and we'll sort of talk about different elements and characters as we go. So let me take your bets. How many kills? And I'm going to say, as a disclaimer, there are a fair few kills that happen in flashbacks and off-screen. I'm going to not include ones that happen in the past. So like 4 miners getting trapped underground 20 years ago, for example, I'm not going to count towards the kill count. Okay. So
like victims of the killer.
Exactly. In the present day. Yeah. Stevie, let me take your number first. What are you thinking?
I'm going to jump in with a sensible 8.
Yeah. Sensible.
Yeah, I think it's sensible.
Becky, what about you?
I always underestimate, and so I'm going to go high. I'm going to say 11.
Oh, very good. Okay, all right. So 8 from Stevie, 11 from Becky. You know it's going to come straight in the middle, isn't it? Let's see. All right, so we kick off at the beginning of the film straight away with a kill. I loved it. Like, the opening credits have barely even finished yet, and we're straight in, aren't we? Do you guys remember the first kill?
Right, so it's the miner and the girl going down to the mine for a bit of nookie, isn't it? And and she undresses herself and then starts to undress him.
Yeah.
But he's hung up his pickaxe, hasn't he? He's hung up his pickaxe next to her, and it's protruding.
Yes.
And then we see that she has a delicate little heart tattoo over her actual heart.
Love a boob tattoo.
I love a boob tattoo.
Oh, it's fit. This scene. I bet we're going to do this now, where we go through it, and then by the end of it, I'm going to be like, "Oh, this is probably my favourite slasher I've ever seen."
Well, that's what's so great about talking about these movies in this way, because I end up with much more of an appreciation for them by the end most of the time.
Yeah, picking it apart or pickaxing it apart. I suppose. So she gets killed he slams her down onto the pickaxe. So what I saw, which actually I made a note saying, "Wow, that's fucking incredible," is the pickaxe obviously coming through her back and through her chest. So we don't see it in our version pierce the skin come through, but you do see the dent of the pickaxe pushing through the tattoo for I think a total of 1.3 seconds, but it's amazing. It's like, whoa, that looks very real.
I loved it because you mentioned the killer's kind of costume, but it's a uniform, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Like, because they're minors. But it is like it's creepy, and she goes to kind of take his mask off, and there is a really sort of spooky moment because he sort of shakes his head and he sort of whispers no, but it comes out in this like really sort of deep, raspy, like no.
Yeah.
I also love because when they're both walking down, obviously they've got the full face masks and like these boiler suits and stuff, and so you think it's like, oh, just two
blokes,
miners, like, yeah, exactly, two blokes like doing their jobs or whatever. And then you get this amazing bit where she takes down the top of the boiler suit first, so she's got like a white bra and the boob tattoo, but she's still got the miner's mask on, which is a look.
It's a look.
It's kinky.
Yeah, there is something a bit kinky about that. It's that mask, isn't it? It's like,
a bit sort of BDSM.
It is. And it is generally like quite a creepy look for a killer, right? We've seen a few different things by this point, the killers in various slashers. What do you think, Stevie, of just the mask and the way this killer looks?
It is so effective. It's the reflective goggles, obviously, that's always when just the idea of when a killer is killing you, if you can see yourself, that I just think that concept is genius. That you're looking into your own fearful eyes as the life drains out of you.
It's good.
Look, I'm getting all bloodlust coming out. I think it's fantastic, and and obviously the wonderful use of a headlamp as well, because that can blind what's in front of you, so that you're almost the killer's almost always in silhouette. It's not like they created it exists, but what an inspired idea. I think it's one of my absolute favourites.
Yeah, it is really genuinely creepy, isn't it? So then we were introduced to this town of Valentine Bluffs. That's what it's called, right? Valentine Bluffs.
Yes.
Incredible. There are so many characters. I mean, like, I don't know about you, but I couldn't really keep track with everybody in this film and who was who. And I'm going to try and run through some of them now, but we basically meet our main guy, TJ, who's like the son of the mayor, who they mentioned quickly, like, he went off to the West Coast to try and make it in some other job and then failed, and now he's come back to his little mining town, and his dad's like, he could get back down the mines and stuff.
Yeah, they don't elaborate on what that was.
No.
Referenced a few times.
No.
Porn?
Yeah, exactly, but probably.
Yeah, I assumed he went out to be a dancer.
Yes, exactly. I would expect so. TJ's come back to his little town. He's upset because his ex-girlfriend Sarah is now dating his mate Axel. And then there's a whole bunch of other characters too. There's Sarah's friend Patty. There's a big guy called Hollis. There's the prankster guy, the annoying one who keeps jumping out with fake blood all over him, called Howard.
Howard,
yeah. Howard.
Dickhead.
You've got the chief of police, Chief Newby, which I loved, and Happy, the bartender, and then a whole bunch of others whose names I couldn't really figure out.
The least happy bartender of all time.
Of course. Yeah. But it's a sudden onslaught of people, and we meet them all. They're all decorating the sort of town hall ready for the dance that that they're bringing back after 20 years. I don't remember which boy it is, but I was very intrigued by the way he greeted his girlfriend. He picked her up to kiss her by the head. I don't know if either of you saw this. So he literally places a hand either side of her face, sort of on her ears, raises her by the skull, and then kisses her. and then puts her back down.
Holy
and
shit.
I was quite concerned for, well, first of all, her spine, but also just their relationship. That took me by surprise.
There's a lot of, there is a lot of like manhandling women. Like there's a moment when a guy just decides he's taking her to the party or something and like grabs his girlfriend and like physically shoves her into the car while she's saying, no, I don't want to go and stuff. And it's like, it's a very well, but I guess also you're introduced to this bunch of men as like proper macho types, right? I mean, like, isn't the first time we see them, they're all in the shower together? Like,
exactly.
Men.
They all like come up at the end of a shift.
Yeah.
And it is just, it's the most like macho scene where they're all like naked and shoving each other and it's like bants, you know. And,
it's like post-football match.
Talking about, you know, what they're going to do to their girlfriends that night whilst like very homoerotically sort of rubbing up against each other with the soap, you know.
Trying desperately not to look at each other's penises while they're all still next to each other in the shower. I haven't seen the remake in a long time, but I remember recently our friend of the pod, Josh Tonks, rewatched the remake and he said he found the remake quite horrible because somehow the kind of gender politics is even worse than the 80s version. Like they've doubled down on making it super bro-y. Yeah, I mean, did it bother you, Becky, in this 80s version, just how sort of bro-y, I suppose, this story and these characters are?
No, not really. I mean, I didn't think there was anything like particularly malicious in it. You know, it's just, you know, I think especially like 81 mining town, like it's a bit of a classic situation where all of these men, like, can you imagine like working in a mine next to all of these blokes like all day every day? Like you're going to be sort of squished up against each other anyway, and like that's a dangerous job that they're doing. You know, they're always like talking all the way through it about like methane explosions and, you know, you can't take the women into the mine because it's too dangerous and all of that kind of thing. So I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time in mining communities, but I kind of assume
the Surrey girl that you
are. Exactly. Damped mine. I kind of assume that this is like a relatively realistic portrayal of kind of what that must be like. Like you would have to have that sort of like bro-y camaraderie thing to sort of get through it, I think. And yeah, I mean, the women don't have a lot to do. No. They are essentially all girlfriends of the blokes, except lovely Mabel, who big fan.
R.I.P. Mabel. We'll get to her
rest
shortly.
In peace.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, it didn't bother me. I thought it was fine.
There's a kind of love triangle at the centre of this, isn't there? Which is very thinly drawn, but this idea of like TJ who's come back to town, he's in love with Sarah, but Sarah's with Axel. There is one moment that really made me laugh though, because I think even the film doesn't care about this. And the one thing I quite liked in terms of the female characters is that Sarah doesn't really care either. Like these two men keep fighting and arguing and bickering and crying over Sarah. And there's one line later on in the film where Sarah goes, "Oh, TJ, I just don't care." And like, my respect for this film kind of went up another notch at that point, because I was like, that's brilliant. Like, I felt like the film may be a bit aware of that itself, you know?
Look, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for that to happen.
Could you please stop it? I just don't care anymore.
We're introduced to this kind of, and you mentioned this in your plot synopsis, Stevie, this kind of urban legend of this town, right? That this tragedy happened 20 years ago, and then this killer who killed these people vowed that he would come back and murder again if anyone celebrated Valentine's Day ever again. Mm-hmm. It feels, doesn't it, like a very kind of, a bit of a rip-off of the Mrs. Voorhees, like, don't ever open this camp again or I will kill people. But what do you think of it as a kind of, as a setup, as an urban legend, as a backstory to this horror film?
Personally, I think it's fine. I think it's great. I mean, it's standard, it's a bit cookie cutter, but I don't care about that. I don't know if I missed it, but I just don't really know what changed or why did I miss why they're suddenly putting on. Are they just fed up?
I think they were just like, it's been 20 years, fuck it, you know. And actually you're right, they do hammer that home. Actually, when we're about to meet Mabel, who is the who runs the laundrette and also is the decorating committee for the town,
and has got a sort of a burgeoning romance with the mayor, which is so cute.
Well, it's that bit where they double down on that when she says, well, it's been 20 years since the dance and we haven't had the dance in 20 years. And then he says, yeah, but keep quiet about not having the dance for 20 years. And they say it about 3 times in a minute just to make sure that we know, right, this is the setup. It shouldn't be happening.
Exactly. Which leads us nicely on to our next death, which happens about 10-15 minutes later after the first scene. Can anyone remember who it is? Becky, do you remember the next kill?
It's a bit early for Mabel, isn't it?
It's Mabel. Can you believe? It's
goes
Mabel.
So early. We don't get to spend enough time with Mabel.
We don't. We do get, because in between that we do get a bit of backstory about the 4 miners that were killed, etc. But the next kind of death that happens in the present day is it's Mabel. Now this one does actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Stevie, happen off screen. I think even in the uncut version, I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but I think that the reveal of her body in the tumble dryer is when know she's dead, right?
Yeah, that's right. So she's at her laundrette and she gets a Valentine card. Guys, I need to talk about it because I need some help. Because I don't understand and I don't know if it's me being stupid. So this is the poem from the card, okay? Roses are red, violets are blue. One is dead, so are you. Now, I don't get what the one is. Is the one dead referring to it's an aforementioned flower, like one of the flowers I've just mentioned are dead, or one as in oneself, like is he being one is dead?
No, it's like one person's dead,
in
kinky lady in the mine, one person's dead, and now so are you. You're chick who gets killed second, Mabel.
Oh my God,
I fucking love how esoteric you went with that, mate.
One is dead.
So
one like it was somebody posh talking about themselves.
Yes. Like he was saying, he's back from the grave. He's dead inside. Or I thought, oh gosh, it's the most simplest one that I didn't even think about. Literally the number one. He's counting. One is dead. Oh wow, that makes a lot more sense.
This is my favourite moment since Rob Watts in our Cabin in the Woods chat thought that one of the monsters was seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah, he thought one of the monsters in the glass elevators was depression, was sad. Was seasonal depression. Yeah, we were like, wow, that's getting really deep.
Reading into
sort of
that.
like black cloud thing. But anyway,
you guys just go so deep with stuff. I love it.
That is incredible. One is
Thank
dead.
you for clearing that
It's
up.
like Stephen Fry's the killer or something. Well,
Exactly.
one is dead.
One is dead.
That's amazing.
Oh.
That's so
well,
good.
thank you. I'm glad that really, really perplexed me, but it's actually very simple. Thank you.
One thing we haven't actually sort of mentioned yet is that the killer puts people's hearts into the candy boxes, right? Into like the heart-shaped candy boxes.
Yes.
So when that, I'm not entirely sure like what order this happens in the film, but the mayor gets a candy box and he's all excited. He says something really cute like, if there's one thing I like even more than Christmas candy, it's Valentine's candy. It's like, this guy has a ranking of holiday candies, which I have so much love for.
It's so Canadian and wholesome, I think.
It's so wholesome. and it's like, there's this idea that the Valentine might be from Mabel. And it's so cute because they're obviously a slightly older couple. And it's like, oh my God, they're like finding love in later life. And it's very sweet. But anyway, so when he opens that, there is just like a bloody human heart in there.
Then we discover, is it the mayor that discovers Mabel's body in the tumble dryer?
Yeah, and he says, we're going to tell everyone it was a heart attack. I was like, I'm not sure. You turn inside out.
So good. I love I don't know again whether this was cut for you guys, but looked fucking great. The Mabel's body tumbling around in the tumble dryer looks amazing.
We get a flash of it, but the uncut version, it really shows you it, and the sort of the dead eye that's in the skull. It's so good. My favourite.
So good. It's brilliant. It just goes on and on as it again literally tumbles about. It's great.
Oh, I'm sad I haven't seen that because we just get the bit where he opens the door and she sort of... No, in fact, he doesn't even open it. She just sort of falls out. And you get a very sort of like burned and bloodied, tumble-dried Mabel. And like that does look gross, but I would have liked to have seen her tumbling about.
I'll send you some pics.
So pretty swiftly, people start thinking, oh shit, the killer from 20 years ago, Harry Warden, is back. And they try and track down where this kind of like mental institution where he was supposed to be. And they said, no, we've never heard of this Harry Warden. He's not here anymore. He's not a patient. So they decide he must be out and on the loose. So they cancel the Valentine's dance once again. But these crazy youngsters are like, fuck this, let's have a little Valentine's party anyway. And a lot of the kind of old-timers are very unhappy about this, right? Including Happy, the barman, who reminded me very much. Didn't you think, Stevie, had like a Crazy Ralph vibe to him?
Totally. Yeah. Absolutely. You've got to have that, don't go down there or you're all doomed character.
Yeah.
And he's this morose sort of, and he's the one with the story who fills you in. He's great. I love him. And he almost speaks in rhyming couplets.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
There's something of a like folky or like we'll get to the end, but the end song is like this really fucking great, like almost like sea shanty or folk song kind of. Do you know what I mean? Loved
and actually, the soundtrack throughout this, it's all this very country and western.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's like The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. It reminds me of that, which is a brilliant musical that was actually turned into a film with Dolly Parton. Anyway, that's not what this podcast is about.
Love it. So then pretty swiftly, speaking of, we get to our next kill, which is, again, at least in the version I saw, one of my absolute favourites. Does anyone remember who dies next?
Is it the hot dog guy?
It's not the hot dog guy yet. There's another... That is brilliant as well, but there's another one before Hot Dog Man.
Oh, wait. Yes, this is, I think, in the uncut, the absolute best kill, but we get absolutely nothing. Is it the innkeeper guy?
It's Happy. It's Crazy Ralph. It's Happy the barman.
And he's setting up a fake
prank.
Yes.
Oh my god, it's so good. He's like chuffed to bits with his little prank.
He's like proper laughing at it, like this'll get him.
This was a scene that genuinely Rihanna laughed at me because she was in the room and I went like that and actually gasped when this happened. So this genuinely got me. But he set up his little trap, right, where he's made like a fake mannequin of the killer, and every time he opens the door, the killer comes lunging forwards. And he finds it hilarious to the point where he keeps resetting it, shutting the door, and then reopening it and experiencing it over and over again. And then in the final time he does it, he opens the door and the actual killer just leaps out and stabs him, pickaxe through the neck, through the skull, and out of the eye, and so his eyeball pops out. It's fucking great.
Gnarly.
Stevie? Have you seen clips of it at least? Yeah,
I have, but I think I've seen the clips in horror documentaries and when they mention the cuts and stuff like that, and that's oh god, I remember that. Yeah, and you can see all the sort of rippled skin around the pickaxe going through his neck. It's so good. In the cut version, I think he literally just gasps, and then you see him raise the pickaxe, and that's about it.
It's a shame. But even so, I like it as a little build-up of suspense and then a little jump scare at the end. It's great. So the party then gets in full swing. Like all these young people are in this like what looks like the village hall or something, right? And they're all like, again, too many characters to really keep track of at this point.
It's like it's their work rec room though, isn't it? Isn't it like their kind of...
Oh, is that what it is?
The mining rec room, yeah.
Right. They're all there preparing. There's some annoying stuff to do with the love triangle. Axel and TJ get in a fight at one point.
Yeah, they have a fight,
people have to break up. Axel storms off and has a little cry outside. Meanwhile, there's other people kind of doing stuff, preparing stuff in the kitchen, which is then when we get to our next kill, the fourth kill of the film. Becky, what's that one?
Hot dog guy.
Hot dog guy.
So,
it is.
And this is a moment as well, because again, you get this sort of like glimpse into these people's lives, but then you don't get a lot more kind of explanation or depth. Yeah. So he is like dressed up to the nines. He looks a bit like I don't know, like Chachi or something from like he's got like a black shirt and like red braces, and like he's obviously like done his hair really carefully. And he's talking to one of his colleagues who says like, "Oh, you look like you made an effort or something." And I think the idea is that he's like going to get laid. And he sees a girl come out of the kitchen eating a hot dog, and he's like, "Oh, I want one of those." And so he goes in, and there is this huge saucepan, boiling water, obviously cooking the hot dogs. And this really reminded me of Sleepaway Camp. There's a death in that's quite similar.
Yes.
And so he like picks up the tongs just to be careful that he doesn't get anything on his spiffy outfit. He like throws his tie over his shoulder to keep it out of the way. And then as he goes in to get a hot dog, somebody comes from behind him and basically like forces his head into the boiling saucepan.
Yeah. Fucking hell. The shot from inside the pan as the head comes in as well, reminding me a little bit of Liquid Nitrogen Jason X kill as well. And I just thought it was quite funny that it was just like part of that kind of ladness that his head is just there with like all of these wiener sausages just like floating around his head as well.
It's got all that and the sort of the dunking in the toilets and that sort of...
Yeah, exactly. We get some head dunking in the toilets in the next film we're going to talk about as well.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, God.
We'll get to that. So he's dead, and there's a hilarious bit later on, about 10 minutes later, where a character is just casually opening the fridge. Do you remember? And we just see his severed head on the shelf
propped
in the fridge.
Up, yeah.
And he doesn't notice it at all. It's great.
Yeah, of course, because he's looking the other way.
Yeah, Dave's head is just there in the fridge. And then, of course, they pull his heart out of the boiled water, right? And it's
cooked.
Oh, it's gone that like horrible sort of white colour, hasn't it? Where it's
that sort of
boiled,
white, brown, grey meat.
Yeah, gross.
Guys, none of this is ringing any bells. I think maybe
you were looking at your phone at this point.
Have I watched like an extra cut version?
Well, you may not have realised it was the heart. It looks like an unnamed meat.
It's pretty gross. It's pretty gross. To be fair, this is a bit of a like this whole chunk of the film is now just like random characters. I don't really know who any of them are. Yeah. Random people go off by themselves and get killed.
You've got the boy making cocaine jokes in the rec room, like sniffing coke, the drink up his nose, and all these different things are happening. Yeah, then something that bothered me, I just saw this. It was real sign of the times. But there's a poster in the rec room at the back that says "You gotta have balls," which is a really encouraging thing from the patriarchy there for us all.
I know. Oh my god. And then you know we do have another kill pretty swiftly. They're almost like every sort of 5 to 10 minutes here. We get another one. Stevie, do you remember what the next one is?
Is it the two kids who are making... Is it Sylvia?
It's Sylvia! Very good. Yeah, so she and her boyfriend are making out. Something happens, he leaves her to it. I can't remember why. He goes to get a beer, because she says, I need something, and he thinks it's a condom or something, first of all, right?
That's right.
And then he goes off to get beer. Classic.
Nice to see they're practicing safe sex, though.
Absolutely. She's lying there by herself, just having a bit of time to herself. And again, kind of loved this bit. So do you remember there were all those like coats hanging above her that are sort of waving around on this sort of rack she's...
mining uniforms.
It's the suits, yeah.
Loved it. Yeah. Loved this bit. I thought it was, again, genuinely quite creepy. Reminded me a bit of something like Scream 3, where you get all the ghost face costumes hanging in the wardrobe. Do you remember how she dies, Becky?
Well, Becky won't really have seen how she dies properly.
Does it cut it all together?
Yeah, well, so the attack happens so because you like pull these cords to get the suits to come down, right? Mm-hmm. And so like he's kind of using that to sort of disorient her. So she's kind of being bombarded by all of these like mining suits kind of falling on her. Mm-hmm. And then I don't think we actually see the death, the reveal a little bit later when the boyfriend comes back with the beers and he comes in and the showers are running and he's like, oh, mate, this is a good idea, because he thinks that Sylvia's in there like sudsy and waiting for him. And then he goes in and it's incredible because the killers like put her like onto the shower. So the water spout is like coming out of her mouth, which is phenomenal. He
sort of just impales her on it.
Yeah, just impaled through the back of the head, basically. Love it.
It's awesome. And she's like a human water fountain.
Yeah, so good.
I love it, but it's heavily edited, this bit as well.
Oh, guys, this
again,
is such a shame. Yeah,
no, I know, but this one I think is great because it does it really well. It's a very good kill that does leave stuff to the imagination. Like you see him picking her up and where he's headed, and so you don't quite need that moment because you know what's. It's that Texas Chainsaw moment where he lifts her up to the hook and then just drops her on it. It's that you get that feeling. You know exactly what's just happened. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Ooh. So there you go. So that was our 5th kill, Sylvia. Now this is we're into the sort of final act of the film where a group of our main characters decide they're going to take this party down to the mine, and they just decide to grab a load of booze and head underground to a mine. I'm not good with these kind of... Are you claustrophobic at all, Stevie? Because this kind of thing really gets me. It's like The Descent, anytime people go down underground like this, I'm always like, don't do that.
It does. This does get me, and also knowing it's a real mine that they found in Nova Scotia. Yeah. They had a really tough shoot. It was really well. First of all, one of the funny things, it was an unused mine, and the owners of the mine were obviously very excited that there's going to be a film coming to our closed down little mine, and so it was perfect for the production. So in preparation, they did a massive industrial clean, made it squeaky clean, and just had it absolutely beautiful. So obviously when they came to film, they were like, what have you done? And so they had to spend $30,000 dirtying it up again and making it look grimy and scary.
Shit!
That is hilarious.
Oh. So, and also it would take an hour each time to get the entire crew down to the mine and back up through this elevator, because they had to go in droves and the equipment. So it was a really tough shoot. And so knowing all that, and also knowing how real it is, and also I forgot to say, it was full of methane, so they had to use minimal lighting, because it was at any moment, if one of their lights fused, and they had to use special bulbs, it could have just blown the whole fucking place up. So it was a real dangerous shoot. So for those, on top of the location itself, I think it's very effective.
My God. That's insane. God, they don't make them like that anymore.
I was going to say, you'd never get away with that nowadays.
Not in a million years. What do you think, Becky, of this whole final act that takes place in the mine with all of these characters all getting split off in different directions and everything else that happens?
Yeah, I think the mine is, like you guys have both sort of said yourselves, like it's just a really inspired setting, because it does give you that real sense of like, there's just no getting away. And because the killer is a miner himself, like, that he's got kind of good like awareness of the space, and he'll know his way around. And especially for the girls, there's a real feeling of like they are in absolute sort of unknown territory and sort of at the mercy of the kind of the guy who has spent, well, I mean, we know he spent prolonged periods of time in one specific bit of the mine eating his mates. So, he's a bit more familiar. So I think it's really effective. And it's not just the girls who get it. Hollis and Howard at least get picked off as well. Maybe one more.
Well, the majority of the vast majority of the victims in this film are men, actually. But that's because there are so many more male characters than female characters. Yeah. But there are only 1 or 2 female deaths. But yeah, the kills really ramp up at this point, and we do get a bunch of characters that we are like basically just introduced to die here. Does anyone remember?
Super disposable.
Yeah.
There's the nail gun? Is that Hollis?
Yeah, that's Hollis. There's something else that happens before that. I don't know if you remember.
Blimey. Oh,
to be honest, it's very unmemorable, because
go on.
It basically, I think, happens off screen. So 2 characters that we've literally not seen up until this point, who, according to my notes, are called Mike and Harriet, go off to just like go and have a little make-out session in the
Harriet's
mine.
the barmaid.
Right, okay.
That they do the little sing-song for. They've got their own little theme tune for Harriet about the fact that she's a virgin.
Oh, yeah, that sounds familiar. Okay, I didn't even realise that this was her, but yeah, they go off. I think their death happens off screen, but then later we find them, and I think they're impaled together with like a drill bit thing. Like
I completely missed that.
Yes, it like you kind of could blink and miss it basically, but they are kills 6 and 7, Mike and Harriet. Then we're up to kill number 8, which is Hollis, the big guy, shot through the head with the nail gun.
The nail gun, yeah.
Hollis, my favourite of the miners. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, he's a good one, isn't he? He's
lovely.
Yeah, he's a fun character.
So what we're left with now is the romance triangle of Axel, TJ, and Sarah. Sarah's friend Patty, Patty, who's getting pretty hysterical at this point. And
she does my head in.
Yeah, she's a nightmare.
I wish she'd fuck off. She's so annoying.
She's a
nightmare.
When
she stops on the ladder and goes, "I'm not going any further." And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're halfway up a ladder to freedom. You know, there's she does my head in.
Yeah, and this is the point we're up to now, because they've discovered Hollis's body. They try to escape up the ladder. This is a really weird moment that happens up the ladder. So Patty's panicking, and then do you remember what happens next? We get our next kill while they're halfway up the ladder.
Do we? Yeah. I think I was fuming writing notes about Patty. I have got
Patty's refusing
Patty.
to go up the ladder.
Yeah,
and then we get Howard, the prankster. His body suddenly comes dropping down the shaft with a noose. The head comes off as his body as the tension of the rope kind of hits. And his head comes flying down the shaft and lands at the bottom.
Right.
So, yeah, that is, I think...
God, of course.
Kill number 9?
9?
Yeah, so... Howard, head severed. And then at this point, I mean, the thing that confuses me is surely they would still want to keep going up the ladder to get the fuck out of there. But at this point, they decide to turn back and go back down again. Which I'm just like, why would you?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Which Patty is suddenly all right with. Bitch.
Yeah, so we're down to our very small core group of characters now at this point.
Yeah, we've got the triangle, haven't we, left?
Pretty much.
Now this is where so we've got. Is this Axel turns up to help?
I don't understand where Axel has... Well, I do actually, but in the continuity of things, I don't understand where Axel has been or is supposed to have been. But he turns up.
So, but you get going back slightly, because TJ and Axel basically realise that the killer is down in the mines with Sarah, because Sarah is one of the girls that has gone down with Hollis and Howard and the miners to go and explore the mines, right?
They're both in love with her, so they're like,
and they're both in love with her, so they put their differences aside and they're like, oh well, we'll call a truce while we go and rescue this woman that we're both in love with, right?
Yeah, who she was just trying to get away from. To be honest,
she couldn't care less, but they're all in. There's this hilarious moment where they sort of make this truce, and it's all a bit awkward, and I think they shake hands or something, and they're like, okay, so I'll go down shaft A and you go down shaft B, and we'll find them, oh yeah. And then they get into the elevator thing that sort of takes you down into the mine, and they're both just going the same way. So I just don't understand why they didn't have that entire conversation in the lift as they're going down. Why do they spend 10 minutes having this kind of reconciliation and coming up with this plan, and then they basically just get into the lift and just sort of stand there in silence well,
that is really weird.
It's weird.
It's like that. It's like that awkward thing when you say goodbye to someone,
and then you're both going the same way,
and then you get on the same carriage.
You're like, oh no,
awkward.
That is so odd.
It's just macho men being awkward and weird, isn't it? I love it.
So then they basically split up. So TJ has found Sarah and whoever she's with at the time, and I think Axel had gone off to look for the couple who were making out, Harriet the Virgin and her bloke, and so this is the point that Axel sort of then catches up with the others, right?
Axel then randomly, it's not really a kill, I'm not going to count it, but Axel just falls into some water and they just go, oh, he's gone, there's no saving him now, let's move on. And they just let him drown. They don't even attempt to help him or save him, they just carry on.
I was very confused at that. I didn't know what was happening.
Because you just hear a big splosh off screen, and then they run back and there's bubbles coming up in the water, and then TJ is like, oh well.
Well,
that's it.
of course, as it will turn out, this is a fake death, right? So this is Axel, quote unquote, drowning. But then we do get our next proper kill. I think
Patty.
possibly the last one of the film. It's Patty. It's Patty, indeed.
Finally, fucking Patty.
She lasted quite a long time, didn't she, Patty? Yeah, she
way too long in my opinion.
She gets a pickaxe straight to the gut. So all that's left now is TJ and Sarah, our final couple, going sort of head to head with the killer. There is a chase on a mine train that happens.
It's not a chase, though,
it's
is it?
so
Really?
slow.
It's a little bit laboured, a little bit precious.
I think this is one of those things where they pictured in their head like this would look so much cooler than it does, because this train is going so slowly.
And I think they thought it was going to be easier than it was. That's what it was. They had this great idea of running up the moving track, on the back of the carts and things like this. And then obviously they're on there, and it's at an angle like that, really, because it's a mine track.
Yeah.
So this in rehearsal, they're probably like, guys, this is really not working.
This is much more difficult.
So do it halftime, mark it, and then we'll just pop that in.
It's so good. So we have a little chat, and then we have our final little fight. One of them's got a shovel, and it's kind of shovel versus pickaxe, and the killer's kind of swinging at them into a wall as he's backing them into a corner.
I like that.
It's good. And then it's revealed who the killer is, and of course, it's not the guy they all thought it was, Harry, what's his name, from years ago. It's Axel, right?
Again, it's not, is it? Because, it does take 15 minutes to enter and leave the mine, whether that's by the elevator or the track. And he's upstairs, minutes before someone's killed downstairs. And so, technically, no, it's not. It's impossible. But it's Axel because his father was one of the negligent people, it turns out, who went to the dance when they should have been looking after the mine when the accident happened. And so then crazy Harry kills Axel's father, and Axel was under the bed and witnessed the murder.
Yes.
And but this is my one question. So who's he avenging?
Well, I don't really understand this either. So Becky, is he just avenging everyone for celebrating Valentine because his dad was killed on Valentine?
He's just fuming. I think he's just a very angry man.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're right. The vengeance thing isn't an argument, because if he's avenging his father, then he should have gone after Harry Ramsden or whatever his name is.
Harry Ramsden. Oh, that's aging me that I'm laughing so much at that.
Goodness. You're right.
But it's true.
Is this a trope with Valentine's horror films where I'm left at the end not entirely understanding who the killer is and why they've killed?
It just doesn't quite make sense. As you say, he should be angry at Harry and trying to kill him in the Institute, but he idolizes him and sort of says, and then at the very end, you hear him saying something like, "I love you, Harry," or I don't know.
I'm coming, Harry.
Yeah,
we'll be together.
Yeah. Something like that.
So yeah, which is brilliant. So there is that brilliant moment when he gets kind of like a load of rocks topple on him, right, and he's trapped, and he pretty swiftly gets to cutting his own arm off. Like, it doesn't take him long to realise like that's what he needs to do to get out. And again, I don't know whether you guys saw this in much detail, but it was fucking great in my version. Like, you just see him hacking away at his arm with a little knife.
Oh my god, no, I didn't
see that
at
all.
Oh, it's like 127 hours-esque. Like, in order to free himself from these rocks, he like properly goes at his arm.
Oh, fuming.
We just see we just hear someone go, "He's alive," and then we see that he
just goes like dancing off
gone crazy.
into the distance.
Yeah, but his insanity. That comes on very quickly.
Yeah, 0 to 60.
Oh my god, it really
Yeah.
is. It's like Rebecca Gayheart levels of like crazy suddenly by the end.
Or a bit like David Boreanaz going from crazy to normal in the next one.
Exactly. But it's kind of interesting that it ends, because I don't think this film has any sequels, does it? But like, it's interesting that this film ends with Axel alive and also Harry. Do we know whether or not he's dead or alive or just out there on the loose as well? Like, we don't actually know if any killers have ever been caught or thwarted at the end of this film.
Harry died 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, he died in the... They like finally find the file.
Yeah.
and can confirm that yes, no, okay, yeah, he died.
Okay, fair
Great.
enough. So he's dead. But I kind of love that Axel just goes like dancing off into the distance, and then the credits roll, and it's like that's it, and we get that brilliant little creepy song at the end as well, which I loved. It's great.
Yeah. Do you know what? I knew this would happen. It's not that bad at all, is it? It's schlocky, which I love. It's fun. It's as I said earlier, it's not tired tropes, especially at the time. It's fine.
Yeah. So there you go. So overall, fans of the film, we reached 10 kills. So what did we?
Becky was 11.
Becky was
I
11. There you go. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Right.
Not bad. So should we move on to the next film?
Do we have to? No, I'm joking. Yes, let's do it.
So let's jump forward 20 years and discuss Valentine from 2001.
Will you dance with me? Dance with me? Dance with me? Dance with me?
Remember the kid everybody ignored on Valentine's Day?
Loser.
Well, he remembers you.
God, we were so horrible to that kid.
What do you think happened to him?
Stay away from me!
4 hot, independent women who have been friends since school find themselves victims of a crazed killer who, appropriately, as the story unfolds around the most romantic of holidays, hides their face behind a creepy Cupid mask. It appears the killer is out for revenge after the girls bullied him at school, but the intensely pervy detective who's on the case has other ideas. And the women are surrounded by such a gaggle of dysfunctional men, including Angel from Buffy, it frankly could be anybody. It all kicks off at a lavish Valentine's party thrown by one of the women, and the bodies start to pile up. Will the final girl figure out the mystery of the masked killer before she's also picked off? Honestly, it's actually not super clear.
Very, very good. Let me start off. Before I ask you your thoughts, I want your kill count prediction for Valentine from 2001. Give us a number. Becky, what are you thinking? More or less than My Bloody Valentine, do you reckon?
I'm going to say that it's the same as My Bloody Valentine, so I'm going to go for 10.
You're going 10. Interesting. Stevie, what do you think?
I'm going to... Because there's always one that... Well, what am I talking about? Always one. There was 4 that escaped me in the last film. So I'm going to go 9.
But I think you guys only saw about half the film with the first one. You know? So it's not entirely your fault. Okay, so Becky's going 10, Stevie's going 9. Okay, let's see. So let me start by asking you, what do you think of this film? Stevie, let me start with you. What do you think of Valentine?
It's all right. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be a downer. I didn't love it, guys. I haven't seen this since it came out, so 20 years ago. And obviously, this was at the very dregs of the second slasher boom. So this was really scraping the barrel with stuff. But I remember when it did come out, it felt... like the idea was sort of fresh and different I don't know whether it's just the idea of this Cupid thing. There's some parallels with Cherry Falls, and I actually think I was expecting some of the scenes in that when I watched this that I remembered, and so I was mixing the two up a bit. It's all right. I halfway through my notes, which was halfway through the film, I wrote, and it's very specific, I said, this film is neither schlocky enough or clever enough. It needs to be a little bit better or a little bit worse.
Yes, I think
it's in the middle.
I think that is my problem with it too. I don't love it, and I think it's got that sort of like 90s glossiness where it's kind of not one thing or the other, maybe for me. But Becky, what about you? You're a bit more of a fan of this, right?
Yeah, I really like it.
Good. I'm glad one of us likes it. Yeah,
we need one.
Yeah.
So I think when we talked about doing our Valentine's episode at the end of our Christmas one, I said that this was the first time that I'd actually seen both films like before watching them for our recording. And I mean, I first saw Valentine, I don't know, fucking ages ago. I own it on DVD.
Amazing.
It's one of those amazing like clip cases with like the cardboard
ones. Yeah.
So they're so shit, but I love them. I think I think it's really fun. I think the killer, a bit like in My Bloody Valentine, is really well designed. I love the Cupid mask, and like there's something a bit sort of giallo about the killer, like the kind of black.
Definitely.
Like he's all in black, like black gloves, and then the sort of I don't know. There's something sort of like, well, romantic about the kind of design of the mask. Something a little bit sort of De Palma-esque about it as well. Like, I don't know, like it's, I love the style of it. I think that the women at the center are just hilarious and actually pretty, not perfect, but relatively positive in the whole gamut of sort of female characters in the horror genre. David Boreanaz is in it, so that's an ultimate immediate tick in the plus column. For this watch, I did come away from it realising that I don't know who the killer is.
It doesn't make any sense.
It literally doesn't make sense, guys. Like, it doesn't work. I love everything about the film. Like, I love this, you know, I think it's really funny and the kills are good and like, you know, I love all the performances. I love the direction. Like, I love it. I really, really think it's a good slasher of this era, but it doesn't make sense.
When we get to the end, we'll discuss this because I don't know what your guys' problem is. I really don't. It was so clear to me, and I was like, "Oh, that's clever. I see what they've done."
Okay, interesting, interesting. Maybe we're overthinking it, Becky, because you know, in some ways it could be really simple. I suppose I don't know, but yeah, I can't disagree with what you said about a lot of that. Like, it does look cool. Some of it looks really stylish. The moment that takes place in the sort of art exhibition really is the bit that most reminded me of Giallo in a way. Like, it looks like it really pops off the screen, and I really love that. I just wish it felt, and this is a problem I have with a lot of slasher films from this era, like, I just wish it felt more like a horror film. I wish that it in any way had any kind of suspense or horror. Yeah. It feels like I'm watching a fucking episode of, you know, whatever, Charmed, or something that Katherine Heigl would have starred in at that point in time, or Dawson's Creek or something. It's like, it's, to me, just like beige teenagers having beige problems in a very beige story. With the odd murder every now and then. And
I am vehemently shaking my head in disagreement.
Well, the director has said subsequently that if he could go back, he would make it more horror and take out the broad comedy and make it a bit more of a horror film. And also, actually, even this, every single kill in this was trimmed.
Yeah.
Even for back in 2001, the kill scenes have been censored.
Well, that is slightly. Also, to be fair to the film, I suppose, also partly not its fault, right? And that's a Columbine thing. It's the reason why Scream 3 was chopped to ribbons as well that same year or just a few months earlier. And it has that Scream 3 vibe to me, where it feels too clean and too, I don't know, there's just something about it that it feels a bit soulless in a way to me, I think, which is a shame. There's things about it that I liked a lot more than I remember, though, this time round. And I agree with you. I think the killer looks really cool, and I think some of the set pieces are quite interesting. But like the director, Jamie Blanks, who previously to this done Urban Legend, I think is like far, far superior. But I know a lot of people don't like Urban Legend, so it's each to their own with this kind of thing. I know.
I've never met them.
A lot of people don't you know, but I think for me, Urban Legend kind of feels a bit more like a proper slasher. Like, it's like set in thunder and lightning, and it's like murder after murder, and it's quite nasty, and it's quite silly, and it's quite, you know, kind of zips along. Whereas a lot of this I just found a bit of a slog. But you know, let's see. Let's kick through it. We start off in the 1980s, and again, like, I think the director sort of said that he meant this as sort of homage to 80s films, didn't he? Which is interesting. But yeah, we start off in the 1980s. The prom, these like young kids. This nerdy kid, Jeremy Melton, keeps getting rejected by all the girls. Then we have him, like, there's a sort of Carrie-esque moment, right, where he's sort of bullied and covered in something. And what did you think of
Punch?
Punch, that's it. Becky, what did you think of this opening scene?
I like, well, as a proponent of the point horror books, this felt very point horror to me. It's like school dance. One kid who's kind of, you know, like he's the kind of nerdy one, and he's just going around and asking all the girls if they'll dance with him, and like they are varying levels of mean to him. So like one of the girls is like, I would literally rather die, get the fuck away from me. And another one of the girls is like, oh, like maybe later, but still like obviously says no. And then he goes over to Dorothy, who is a slightly plumper girl, and I think the intimation is that because like she's sitting alone on the bleachers and like nobody wants to dance with her anyway, probably because she's the fat kid, you know, all of this. And so he goes over to her and he's like, do you want to dance? And she does, but we don't see them dancing. We cut straight to the aftermath of the dancing where they are just like making out under the bleachers. And then all these other bully boys come over and are kind of taking the piss. And she has a reaction, sort of, she's obviously really embarrassed to have been caught making out with this like nerdy kid. And so she accuses him of attacking her. And like, that's when they pull the punch over him in a very Carrie-esque moment. And his nose starts bleeding. And I think it's like a stress-induced nosebleed. And so yeah, it's really mean. Really mean.
It's your classic kind of like slasher setup, isn't it, Stevie? Like it's like Prom Night, or even I Know What We Did Last Summer. I suppose that idea of like these kids commit a sin and they're going to be punished for it, you know, from the beginning, right?
I really like that, and also because it's you know it's set in my era, that 1988 vibe, and which just does so much for me. The thing I took most from this opening scene anyway is I couldn't get over how much the girl they cast as the young Denise Richards looks like Denise Richards, to the point where I thought 100%. It was CGI.
It was like
same.
It was like Martin Scorsese de-aging technology, wasn't it? It was.
How did they do that? Like, is it her little sister or something?
I don't know. It was crazy. I didn't look it up, but I was just gobsmacked, and I thought, hang on, this was filmed in 2000. It's not digitally altered. It's
just really, really good casting. I think that was
very
phenomenal. Good. Yeah, loved it. And then in classic slasher movie fashion, we're taken pretty swiftly to our first kill. Right, we cut to whatever it is, 12 years later, 13 years later, and we get kill number one. Becky, who's kill number one?
It's that girl. That really famous actress whose name I can't remember.
Yes.
That really famous actress whose name I now can't remember.
It's Katherine,
that you said about
Katherine Heigl. It is.
Thank you. It's Katherine Heigl.
Yes.
Yeah, Shelley.
Shelley, indeed. Who I think maybe maybe a couple of years earlier was a star of Bride of Chucky, right? As well, wasn't she? I think I remember that's at the time. That was sort of what I knew her for. Yeah.
And I think at this time as well, she was pretty because I noticed in the opening credits it's and Katherine Heigl, so she got the special placement. I think it's because of Roswell.
Oh yeah,
I think she was in at the time. I think she was in name. So her and David, they were the big pulls. But yeah, she's the first girl. She's been doing speed dating with is that right?
Yeah, Jason, who refers to himself in the third person as Jason.
And I always say, if someone refers to themselves in the third person, fucking run. Yeah. That means they are not in this reality, they're living a different narrative and they are dangerous. So immediately you're like, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
But I love this. Like, he is so clearly framed as just the ultimate asshole, right? Yeah. Like, he's absolutely painted as like the negative here. And just, she, you know, everybody is on her side to just get the fuck out of there. Like, they do everything that they possibly can to make him like repulsive and obnoxious.
Yeah, so good. Even the spinach on his teeth or whatever it is.
Yeah, well. Exactly. So and funny. The way that he kind of gets a bit aggressive when she won't kiss him goodnight and all of that sort of thing. And she's a med student, so after her terrible date with Jason, she goes to dissect a corpse. Classic. Like, just, I mean, standard post-date late night activity that we've all been there, right, guys?
What in the name of living hell is happening here in this scene, right? Why on earth does the killer, right? She goes off for whatever reason. She leaves her body that she's about to dissect. Then she comes back, and the killer has moved the dead body to a cupboard. He's then taken off his shirt and just had a little lie down under the sheet, just for shits and giggles, so that she can
Replacing
then realise.
the corpse, yeah.
What? This is just my first what the fuck of this film. But why has the killer done what he's done here?
Also, he's lucky she didn't just start the autopsy and get a scalpel out and open up his stomach.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
This is also one of the key reasons why I'm confused about the ending. Okay. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. Then we do go to quite a cool moment, right? Which is where she hides in one of the body bags, and the killer is basically then walking through, stabbing every single one of the body bags with his knife. That's quite a cool moment, right? I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Oh, Stevie's still not sold on that.
Well,
I mean, it's in no way. There's no tension really because
but
go on.
There wasn't any tension, you're right, because we've all seen a million of these films where it's not going to be any of the bags that he stabs first. She's always going to be in the last one. And so you're not freaked out at all when he's stabbing into the bags because you're like, well, she's not going to be in any of them. She's going to be in the last one. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of flips it on its head a little bit because she's in the last one. You expect she's going to get away. And actually, he just unzips it and slashes her throat, which I think is very effective.
There you go.
Well, yeah, but I think it's very realistic because she has kind of cornered herself by getting into a bag.
Oh yeah, no, she has fucked this up. Like,
but you're right. Yeah, she does get it. She doesn't get away. And then we get the urban legend. Then we get the Valentine title, right? Which is exactly the same as Urban Legend, which you pointed out, Mark.
Oh yeah, it's the same font, isn't it? Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's great. And the killer's nose bleeds, right, as well after he. Now we touched upon this already, but let's talk briefly about the look of this killer: the cherub mask, the black gloves, the knife. Stevie, what do you? This is quite a cool in image, right?
Big fan. My killer design is very important in films for me. But that was actually one of my problems with Urban Legend is that it's a parka and the killer just has a hoodie up. There's nothing covering the face. So just all you need is a torch and you've found out who the killer is because it's just a hood up and there's nothing else going on. I agree. But this design is so good. I think it's that sort of Renaissance cherub face and it looks porcelain and heavy, even though it's not. And as you say, Becky, the sort of giallo black gloves, the idea of a bow and arrow that he doesn't use for everything, but he does at one point take on that cherub Cupid mantle. I think it's fantastic and really well designed.
It's so cool, isn't it? There's like a sort of like uncanny quality to that face, Becky, isn't there? I think like it's up there with me as like with like a Michael Myers mask in terms of how creepy it looks as a face,
Yeah, and then you're right because when his nose bleeds, it like comes out of the nostril of the mask, which like I don't think that's probably physically possible, but it does look fucking cool.
No, sure.
It's really cool.
That's actually taken from another film. That's from Alone in the Dark, 1982. The killer, whenever he kills, his nose bleeds, and that's how he gets caught eventually because the adrenaline makes his nose bleed. But I think that's I think the director, he's actually admitted openly that it's completely inspired by that.
That's cool.
Like so many of the slashers from this era, right? They are basically homaging the early 80s slashers most of the time, aren't they? Yeah. So Shelley's gone. That's kill number one. She got the Katherine Heigl, like you said, so we knew she wouldn't last long. She's gone, and then we're introduced to our core group of characters. So we've got Paige, played by Denise Richards. We've got Kate, and then we've got Lily and Dorothy, who we meet in a bit as well. So Becky, you've already said are you a fan of this like kind of core group of characters?
Yeah, I think they're really fun. Like they're sort of like you mentioned the toilet dunking earlier. Like they're all just a bit sort of messy and imperfect and like that, there is like the sexy one and the good one and the rich one and the like ditzy one. So, they're broadly drawn. but they have a fair amount to do, and you know they are all a bit messy, and I like it. I like the way they interact with each other. I think they're all kind of smart and sassy. I'm into it.
Any faves, Stevie, out of this group?
Well, I really like Denise Richards in this.
Yeah.
It was actually
really
cast
good.
as Jennifer Love. It was Jennifer Love Hewitt was cast in this role, but then it was recast, and for whatever reason, I'm not sure. And originally they were thinking Jared Leto for the Adam part, which David Boreanaz. But I think this cast, it's a really great cast, and they all play off each other really well. And I'm glad it was Denise Richards. And I'll tell you a little connection I have to this film. So this was filmed in Canada in 2000, and while it was filming, I was also filming a TV thing in Canada. And my cast and this cast were all staying in the same hotel, so I'd often see these. I'd see all the cast here and there, and a couple of times I shared a lift with David. Is it Boreanaz?
Boreanaz.
Is that all right? Great. I shared a lift with him a couple of times, and I remember specifically him commenting and saying, "Oh, nice trainers, dude." One time. Now Denise Richards. So
I'm sorry. How is this the first time I am hearing that David Boreanaz complimented your fucking trainers? What is happening? Fuck you, Stevie.
I know this is going to sound mad, but it wasn't until watching this that it was triggered the memory. I was like, oh yeah,
that guy.
I just remembered
Oh yeah, because that sort of thing happens to me all the time. You know, like big stars complimenting my shoes.
But then there was this one time I was in the lift with Denise.
Denise, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Denise Richards.
Denny.
And I remember she had a dog. She had a dog on a lead in the lift, and sunglasses also in a lift. And I somehow got onto talking about Wild Things, the film that she's in. And I was like, I just have to say, I absolutely love Wild Things. And she took off her sunglasses. She went, oh, really? And I went, yeah, I'm a huge Nev Campbell fan. And she went, oh. And then put her sunglasses back on. And then she left, and the doors closed. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? Why did I do that? I mean, I was only 14, 15 or something, but I couldn't believe that my brain sent that through my mouth and didn't stop it en route. So I offended Denise Richards in a lift in Canada while she was filming Valentine.
Do you know what?
That is the best thing I've ever heard.
That's fucking brilliant, Stevie. And Denise Richards, I was talking to Rihanna about this while we were watching the film. We were like, she's fucking good, and she got a hard time. Like, I feel sorry for her. Like, in terms of how she was treated, the roles that she always got, and just her sort of reputation. Like, she's fucking good. Like, I think she's the best performer out of the bunch in this group as well.
100%.
And I think it's kind of sad, right, that she was just kind of...
Yeah, no, you're so right, mate.
Yeah.
Like, she was a real victim of, you know...
The time.
Yeah,
she's
just
like the one with the big boobs, basically.
Absolute fucking raging misogyny. Yeah, nobody could see past the boobs.
Yeah.
And her face, and you know, she was just absolutely underestimated as a as a everybody just saw her as a sex symbol, and you know that she wasn't. I just don't think she's ever been respected at all.
Never been given a serious chance.
She's almost like a sort of like Sharon Stone of the 10 years later kind of era.
That's a good call.
And she's really genuinely good. Like Sharon Stone was really like properly good as well. That's the thing. I think it's sad. Like we were talking about, do you remember even on Friends? She was in, even her Friends episode was really seedy and gross, where she was Ross's cousin and he didn't know whether he could come onto her or not. And it's just like really disgusting episode. Yeah, it's like, it was such a shame really, like the roles that she would get and everything. Because I think she's really good in this. And Wild Things, what a film.
Yeah.
What a bloody film.
Yeah.
Shout out to Starship Troopers as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Starship Troopers. Yeah. She was in the really bad Bond film, I think, as well.
Yeah, Tomorrow Never Dies. Is it that one?
One of those. Yeah. One of the late Pierce Brosnan ones.
Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
Wasn't her name like Christmas Card or something?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. It was something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Christmas Card.
Bless her. Anyway, I love that you've insulted her in a lift, Stevie. God,
I was mortified.
Like, you absolute dick, Stevie. Like, that is so bad.
Yeah, I blew it big time.
I can't believe this. So there you go. So we're introduced to all of these, and let's talk about David Boreanaz for a second as well, because we're introduced to him pretty swiftly in a graveyard, which I thought was brilliant.
Yep.
You're gonna hate me and defriend me for this, Becky, but I think he's really bad in this, and I don't really understand what David Boreanaz is doing in this. I feel like he doesn't know what he's doing in it. I feel like he's just stepped onto set and doesn't really know what he's supposed to be doing. I think he's terrible, and I think all of his scenes are terrible. I'm so sorry, and you know how much I love him, and you know how much I love Angel, but like I just feel like he's got nothing to, or he doesn't know what he's working with in this film. It's weird. Am I being really harsh?
No. I think it's very underwritten.
I'm not saying it's his fault at all.
No, it's very underwritten. Also, they don't know what production on this went all up in the air a bit, because Variety printed an article saying, because when things are cast, and they said David Boreanaz has been cast as the villain in the new film Valentine, and they printed that while they were in pre-production. So they announced that he was going to be the killer in this whodunit, and so I think during production and filming, a lot of the script was, how are we going to play this? Should we make him the killer and the audience know it throughout? So it's why he done it. And so I think that is a lot to do with why a lot of the script is bizarre and he hasn't got much to do. Mm-hmm. I think that fucked it up a bit. But I just want Becky's response to everything you just said.
I think he's fine. I think he's fine. I think you can both have your wrong opinion, and that's okay. I mean, it's no Olivier performance. No, like he's not going to win any fucking awards for it, is he? But I think it's entirely harmless, and I think you're both being very mean. And
I feel very mean saying it. I really do. But I think considering like what we were just saying about the four lead actresses are actually really genuinely good and have such great chemistry, I feel like there is just such a lack of chemistry between this character of Kate and David Boreanaz's character. Like, I just don't understand what those scenes are doing through half of the film, you know? I'm really confused by it. But, you know, hey-ho. So pretty swiftly, you know, these kills start cranking up once we get past the sort of rom-com stage of the film. Does anyone remember the second kill of the film, who it is?
Fuck.
Is it the one at the art gallery?
Is it the bow and arrow?
It is.
Yeah.
What did you think of this scene? So this is the scene where Lily, gets lost in the sort of art gallery thing, and then is shot with an arrow. Stevie, what did you think of this scene?
At this point, I'm really enjoying the film still, you know, and it's not bothered me too much. It's original. It's trippy. There's that very odd moment where she's kissing Matt. Is it Max, the artist?
Max,
Max, the obnoxious artist.
And he's told another girl to stand by in case he can organise a threesome, which is...
Yeah, that is hilarious, that moment.
That is so fucking weird. Like, she just kind of, like appears from behind a panel
and starts undressing.
And starts undoing her blouse. It's like...
Rhiannon made the good point of, like, being like, what? Did he organise it here in the middle of this art exhibition?
Right.
Like, whilst everyone was...
Yes.
Like, he had pre-organised that this was where they were going to have a threesome as well.
Yeah.
Just, like, in the middle of his public exhibition. It's like, what's going on?
I found that a little bit odd. But as you asked me about the kill, I think it's cool. I think it's really fun.
It's cool. Becky, what do you think of this scene?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I agree with everything you've already said about the kind of design of it, and I think it is very sort of Giallo-esque with the, because like the exhibition is a kind of like video installation, and there's it's almost like a sort of Hall of Mirrors situation where Lily's trying to leave, and like the panels will sort of slide in front of her so she like can't get out, and then all of the like video panels are kind of like close-ups on mouths kind of saying, like repeating phrases and stuff. So yeah, like trippy is a really good word for it. I think it's really effective.
It's really cool, isn't it? A really cool atmosphere. And it suddenly goes into like, almost like we're not in the real world suddenly, because it's like, what's happened to this public exhibition and all these people? Like, what's going on all of a sudden? It's like a Nightmare on Elm Street, like we've slipped into a dream world almost at this point. But I really liked it. It was really cool. So she's dead, shot through her chest, lands in a bin, lands in a skip. Lily's gone. So at this point, obviously, we know that there's a murderer on the loose because Shelley's dead, and we're introduced to the really creepy, leery police detective.
What the fuck? My jaw was on the fucking floor. It's wildly inappropriate. I thought I must have missed something. Like, was I involuntarily having mini naps, micronapping? Because what the hell was that about?
It's really creepy.
He says to Paige, to Denise Richards' character, that there's clearly sexual tension between us. This is a police officer, right?
So I think basically, I mean, and I think this is quite interesting. I mean, what do you, Becky, do you think this has kind of aged well in this respect, this film? Because it is really interesting, and essentially every male character is in some way a sort of different type of toxic male, right? In some form or another, which in itself is quite an interesting idea, I think.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, a bit like with Jason, you're under no illusion that this character is like obnoxious and wildly inappropriate. It's not that it's not painted in any way that this is like an okay way to act. And Paige deals with the situation pretty well, and because he like puts his hands on her, and she is very cool. She I think handles it in a way that appears to be coming from a woman who has had a fucking lifetime of this shit.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean? Like, she has had to work out how to get herself out of these sorts of situations.
Yeah.
And so she's very cool. Like, there's no kind of like there's no way that she's kind of gonna find herself in a dangerous position. Like, it's all very sort of de-escalating, and like just kind of gets herself out of there, and then later tells her friend about it. And it's so, I mean, he is the fucking worst, but nobody's under any illusions about that. Like, that is how the character is definitely meant to be received.
Yeah, the guys in this are grotesque, all in different sorts of ways, like comedically so, some of them, including the next victim. Does anyone remember who our third kill of the film is? Speaking of some of the weird men in this film.
It's the weird fucking neighbour.
Yeah, Scary Gary.
Scary Gary.
Oh,
Works better when you're American, because they can be like, Scary Gary.
Scary Gary.
Scary Gary.
So, Scary Gary, Kate's neighbour, and he talks to her exclusively in rhyme.
Yeah.
And only rhyming her name.
Yeah.
So he'll be like, I can't remember exactly what they are, but he'll be like,
how about a date, Kate?
It's getting late,
yeah,
Kate. Yeah,
exactly. Like, do you like my ice skate, Kate? And yeah, I mean, it's just the weirdest fucking writing. Like, how did they come up with this character? What was the conversation? Like, how was this born into existence? It's insane. But he doesn't last very long, because it's not just the rhyming that is scary. He also goes into Kate's apartment when she's not there and steals her underwear. And he gets caught doing this. But unfortunately for him, he gets caught by the killer and gets offed.
Yeah, he's one of the very many people that seem to have keys to Kate's apartment. But so
everyone, it's like
Gary,
an open house.
The killer, Paige is in there on her own in the next bit. So yeah, she's handing out those keys like sweets.
And he gets ironed, doesn't he?
He gets ironed, smashed in the face with an iron. Always good.
Yeah.
That feels quite Jallo-esque as well to me. There's something about it. There's which Jallo is it? Blood and Black Lace or something, where a woman gets burned on a stove on just something about it reminds me of that. So that's kill number 3, Scary Geary, smashed with an iron. Then let's talk briefly about Dorothy's home life, right? So Dorothy has got a sort of young stepmom.
So confused.
She's got a boyfriend called Campbell, who, again, clearly a really nasty piece of work, right? Who's sort of moved in with her.
Yeah, he's a con artist, isn't he? He's like a...
That whole situation is all very... What did you think of Dorothy as a character? Do you think we're supposed to like her as a person as well?
Well, I don't think we are meant to particularly like her, because I think at this point they're trying to give us a lot of suspects.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make people suspicious. And I think I read somewhere originally Tara Reid was thought for this part.
Brilliant.
I think, which I can really see, actually, as that rich bitch sort of, I found it, if I'm honest, I found this whole setup quite bizarre, and her narrative a little bit bizarre. I'm not complaining, not bad, but I guess it's a great way, again, of showing a vulnerable girl whose weaknesses are preyed on because this guy takes her for a ride, basically, and she has all this money and he knows how to get what he wants from her.
And I think, like you said, it's supposed to start setting up this idea that maybe she is the killer, right? And maybe she is. I'm not really sure. We'll get to that. But like there is and this leads us into our next kill, right? There's a moment when Campbell is in the pool area and he gets buzzed by Dorothy. As soon as he's trying to steal her money, she buzzes him and says, "Could you get out to the basement and sort something?"
The pilot light's gone out.
Indeed. So, this is it. Our next kill is Campbell. Do you remember what happens to him?
Axe to the back.
Couldn't happen to a nicer bloke.
I know. He was awful, wasn't he? Felt very much to me at that point like they were setting her up as the killer, almost like she knew that he was there trying to steal her money and she sent him down to the basement to kill him, I think.
Right. Oh, yeah, I didn't pick up on that. That could have been seen as a red herring clue.
So that's our fourth kill of the film. Campbell, axe to the back. So then we pretty much get to like the big party, right? So Dorothy throws a party in her massive house that looks like a great fucking party to me. But every single character at some point goes, "This party's so lame." And I was like, what? As somebody that hasn't been to a party in absolutely, however long, I was like, oh my God, look at this party. It looks incredible to me.
It does look fucking awesome in this huge house. Yeah, in Dorothy's amazing. Dorothy, now, I've never heard the name Dorothy shortened to Doroth.
Is it shortened to Doroth?
Which Kate calls her. Yeah, several times, Mike. Kate says, "Come on, Doroth." About 3 times. Cheer up, Doroth.
What?
That's amazing.
And I never heard that in my life. So I very much enjoyed that.
That is really weird, isn't it? I love that you pick up on these sorts of things, Stevie. It's like the plural thing with the nun. Like, I've never noticed
that's exactly what I was thinking.
That's amazing.
I rewind this shit. We're coming up to it now. Can I ask you guys, what's waxing? If I asked you to wax my dick, what does that mean?
I mean, I assumed it was
little cheeky hand job, right?
A handy
hand job, yeah.
What, like waxing a surfboard?
Yeah.
I think just stroking it, basically, right? I think that's bro for. Could you just stroke it?
Okay, I thought he was asking for something very specific that I didn't really want to go into the bowels of the internet to find out.
No. I think it's just handy.
Oh right, just a handy. Oh. Then he's completely in his right to just do it the way he did. Get it out, tell her to wax it.
That's a great scene, though, isn't it? What do you think of that scene?
Awesome.
In terms of the waxing and everything.
Again, just handles it like a woman who has had to deal with this shit 100 fucking times. Like she's having a lovely dance. She's got an individual dancing style, I think, at this moment in the film. It's bouncy and sultry at the same time. Like I don't know how's she managing that? Only the power of Denise Richards could be like bouncy and sultry.
I'm sure they asked Denise Richards to be as bouncy as possible.
Exactly. But she looks fucking incredible, to be fair.
Yeah.
And so the guy who turns up is one of the guys from like Turbo Dating that her and Kate went to right at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
So he turns up and immediately he's like, "Shall we go upstairs?" And it's like, oh God. So they do. And he, like you say, just immediately flops his cock out and asks her to wax it. And she just handles it like an absolute fucking pro. And she's like, "All right, well, I'll show you." So she tells him to take all his clothes off, gets on the bed. She thinks, like, makes him think that it's going to be all kinky because she takes these like scarves because
loads of scarves at the ready.
Loads of scarves, standard bedroom. Ties him to the bed, and then also this bedroom is lit by 500 unattended candles.
It's a
guys,
accident waiting to happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. Have you heard about Britney's gym? Like, come on, you can't. They're lucky they weren't those fucking vagina candles from Goop as well, because they just apparently spontaneously combust.
There's a horror film waiting to happen, but
exactly. Yeah. She gets one of the candles, and boy, does she wax it.
Love it. And that character, we never revisit him again, right? Like you would think at some point he would get killed, like he would be tied to the bed and he'd get murdered or something. Nothing happens. Like as far as we're aware, when that party
just left
ends,
up there with a burnt knob.
He's still just there. He's still just lying there. Like it's hilarious. It really felt like that should be the setup to a slasher set piece, right? That then somebody would come in and murder him while he's tied to the bed. But no.
Which has totally been done, which I thought was going to happen, but hey.
It's so strange. But we do have another kill. So this is when, like a classic kind of 90s slasher, a big, massive house, lots of different rooms, different people getting killed. Does anyone remember who gets killed next?
Is it Ruthie?
It's Ruthie! Yeah, Ruthie.
Who, again, another odd character. I don't know why she's at the party.
No, I think she's like she's crashed the party, hasn't she?
Right. Yeah.
Who's Ruthie?
Right. She's the ex
Campbell's ex.
Oh, okay. Yep. So she's a previous victim of the con, isn't she?
One of my favourite moments, I think she says, what was it again? Ripmeoff.com, which I thought was really telling at the time when sort of web address jokes were still funny because the internet was still quite fresh.
What is it? www.ripmeoff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's like, oh, I get it, because the internet. Yeah. Because it's that cool new thing.
Yeah, it's great. She does also discover a dead maid as well, but we never saw the maid get killed. I'm not counting that towards the kill count, but we do discover a maid's body at this point.
The cherub sort of dragging her out like a drunk person, but she's dead.
This feels like it could have been quite a cool kill if it maybe wasn't cut, but she kind of gets smashed through a window and then her head gets pushed down on a shard of glass.
I think it's a really cool kill. Like it would have been better uncut, but I think it retains a real kind of
nastiness.
Exactly. Like really sadistic and like slow, kind of that inevitability of her, just like her neck just kind of being pushed down on these shards of glass. Very cool.
Yeah, I've put a tick next to that death.
Oh.
Interesting. There you go. Again, maybe kind of hinting at, is this Dorothy, right? She's just come in and she's insulted Dorothy and she's crashed Dorothy's party, and now she's been pretty nastily bumped off. We then get a bit of David Boreanaz and Kate arguing because he's drinking at the party.
I don't think we've spoken about this actually, because Adam, played by David Boreanaz, is a recovering alcoholic. And Kate has previously split up with him, and he spends the entire film trying to win her back and saying, like, I'm a changed man, I'm dry, whatever. And then, yes, at the party, like, there's no kind of setup for it. 1 minute, they're like cool together, having a bit of a snog on the dance floor, I think. And then like they've gone their separate ways for one reason or another. And then she just finds him and he's like literally chugging a glass of booze. And there's no reason. Like there didn't seem to be a trigger for this or anything. It's just, he's succumbed to temptation.
Stevie, do you think that there is some behind the scenes practical like it almost feels like David Boreanaz, like he was only able to come and film for like 2 days and they got as much as they could with him, or so, like I don't know, something about his scenes feel really weird to me. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's because they don't know. I don't think they knew where they were going. That thing I said about it, it being announced in Variety that he was going to be the killer before they started filming. I really do think that fucked up a lot. But also this whole final act, it's not that I was losing interest. It was hurting my brain a bit. I was trying to just, I was asking my brain to stay with it. Come on, we're nearly there. But it was tough for me to, and it wasn't. I don't know, it was just so stilted, and it just felt like there was no proper flow. I didn't know where we were going, and there was no stakes. I didn't really.
Well, it's that final act thing that we get. I guess the 80s slashers had this too, right? But particularly the 90s ones, Scream has that final act that all takes place in Stu's massive house party, right? And that is done so well. And it feels like every urban legend, even every single film since, they have like a big party in the final act. You're right, it kind of loses it a bit, like the momentum, the geography, the timeline.
This is another penny in the pot for sorry, who's the killer? Because the timeline and geography of this is all wrong.
Totally.
He shouldn't, if he's the killer, he shouldn't be able to be in that room along the timeline of Ruthie and the maid and all of that going on.
Yes.
And then Kate comes in and finds him getting drunk. That shouldn't be possible.
He might be pretend drunk, I guess, right? And like he's just turned up there to pretend like he's drinking, and he's been there the whole time as an alibi. Maybe maybe I'm giving it too much credit. But then also we're about to talk about something else that's going on elsewhere, right? So then there's another kill that's happening. Basically, what seems like at this moment. Does anyone remember what's next?
Well, it must be Denise, Paige.
It's Denise. Kill number 6 is Denise. Paige electrocuted in the hot tub. What do you think of this scene?
I like it. I'm not.
It's incredible.
It's really good.
Great. Reminded me of is it Halloween 2? There's a good kill scene in a hot tub that's similar.
Yes. In the hot tub, yes, it is.
Yes.
Absolutely. Oh, it's great because it's not only the hot, the fact that it's the hot tub, but then he closes the top so she's trapped in it, and then he's using an electric drill,
drill holes kind of through the lid of the, and like obviously like
Fab.
I think there's literal books been written on phallic weapons in slashers, and really, I mean, it's hard to find a weapon that isn't phallic. Knives, and like arrows, all of this stuff. It's all used so symbolically as like this penetration and kind of masculine violence and all of that. But there is something about Paige being attacked with that enormous drill that I thought was, it just came across as a bit more of a considered choice, and I thought that was very cool.
It's 100% agree with you. It's really cool. I'm glad that she gets one of the best set pieces in a way, and it looks amazing. Like when the water goes all red and there's the flashing lights as she's being electrocuted, and again it kind of looks giallo, but it also looks a bit like classic horror as well in a way, like almost Bride of Frankenstein or something. It reminds me of, like with the flashing lights and everything.
Well, it's also how Tiffany dies.
Yes,
in when she's watching Bride of Frankenstein and the TV falls into the bathtub.
Yeah, it's so good. It's great. It's a really...
And then, of course, if he then throws it into the water, when he electrocutes her, and it blows the electricity in the entire house, and you get that classic thing of the party goers all going, oh. Which I always go, oh, come on. But that has happened to me, and that is the exact noise that is made by partygoers when there is a power cut. It's happened to me, and we've all gone,
because the music goes and everything, all of the light and party goes out of the party.
Oh, come on, what the hell?
Such deflation.
Come on, guy. Yeah, it's so good. So Paige, there you go, killed. Now this is where it gets really confusing, because Kate then starts finding bodies, right? And she runs out into the garden because she hears the detective's phone ring. Do you remember this moment? And again, we find the decapitated head in the pond of the police detective in the fish pond. When did this happen? Yeah.
When? How?
and amazing that it just bobbed to the surface the second that she had to be there.
In that moment, I know.
Oh, come on.
So then we have our final showdown. Now, we've got lots to talk about this final 10 minutes, right? What goes on here? So what happens is we have this kind of final showdown between Kate and the killer. The killer chases her, right? David Boreanaz's character Adam shows up as well, and he's like, quick, run. So it's clear that at this point, oh, he's not the killer. Big twist. Who is it? Adam pulls out a gun, shoots the killer dead. The killer's dead at the bottom of the stairs. They pull off the mask, and it's Dorothy. Dorothy's the killer. Oh my God. Everything's over. The police are on their way. Adam and Kate are having a little embrace. She says to Adam, yeah, go on.
But why? Oh my God. So while Adam is sort of protecting Kate, he's also sort of making her slow dance with him and saying things like, I've always loved you, Kate, in this sort of weird, like, I'm definitely a psycho killer voice. And like, and she's sort of having to like placate him and be like, I'll never leave you, Adam. And like, she definitely thinks that it's him. And we're like, the things that he's saying are like making it sound like he's definitely
100%
the kid
Jeremy Melton or whatever his name is.
Jeremy Melton, right? So like, oh, dance with me and I've always loved you and all of that sort of thing. And then he shoots the killer, and then you take it off and it's like,
so and I think again you're supposed to kind of think it's Dorothy and then flip to go, oh no, actually it is Adam, right? Because then at the very end, Adam's holding Kate and he says, I love you. He says, I've always loved you. And then his nose starts to bleed, and then end of film. So
because he dressed up Dorothy as the killer.
When?
Guys.
How? Well, what?
So Stevie, you said this was quite straightforward to you then. So you were assuming Adam was the killer the whole time. Is that right?
Yeah, it's Adam. And then to throw Kate off track, he's done something to Dorothy. She's concussed or something like that. He dresses her up, and then she comes stumbling out at the top of the stairs and then falls down the stairs. Second she sits up, he shoots her, and it looks like, oh, look, I've saved you, I've killed. But I think if he didn't shoot her there and then, she would have gone, it's him, get away, or something like that.
Well, I think you're right. I think that's what's happened, right? That it was Adam.
What's the problem? Come on.
But what I don't understand is what the hell goes on with Dorothy in that mask then? Why doesn't she just go, hang on, it's me, take off the mask, anything? She literally chases Kate. Like the killer has been chasing people. Yeah, it's really weird.
I just feel like there is a lot of information that you, Stevie, as a bright man and as somebody who's watched a lot of horror films, there's a lot of work that you have had to do to fill in that story.
Yeah.
Listen.
We are not given any fucking information about him dressing her up or like knocking her a bit giddy or whatever. What we see is her having a fucking shout at Kate about the fact that everyone's always hated her because she was the fat kid at school. Yeah. And then she storms off, and then she comes out in the killer's uniform, like costume.
So guys, I don't see the problem here.
So what actually happened was Adam that whole time was in between drinking and arguing with Kate, was like skulking off to kill different people, but then coming back to the drinks table.
Putting on the costume. Like, it's not just a mask, guys. Like, I could almost understand it if it was just the mask. There is like full layers and accessories to this costume. There's like trousers and a duffel coat and fair. Like gloves and like, I don't think it's physically possible to get gloves on somebody else's hands.
It's like you need that kind of Scream logic where it has to be two killers almost for it to make sense.
Well, is there a theory that they were working together
and that he fucked her over at the end? Possibly, yeah.
Because is there a kill where its nose doesn't bleed?
Well,
I'd have to go back.
So but that's the other clue, though, right? Is that when Dorothy is killed with the mask on, her nose at no point bleeds. I know she hasn't killed anybody, but in that moment. But her nose doesn't bleed at any point that she's in the costume. Again, suggesting that she's been put in that costume against her will. I mean, it does.
Okay.
However you look at it, it doesn't quite add up, though, does it? It doesn't really make any sense.
No.
It's such a shame. It feels like it's cobbled together, doesn't it? That final act.
Yeah.
I don't care. I still love it. I don't care about all of the flaws. I don't care that it doesn't really make sense. I don't care that David Boreanaz isn't very good, apparently. Like, I think, despite its flaws, I think it is very funny and charming, and fine. No, it isn't scary, but guys, it's so good. I love it.
I think that's fair. That's totally fair. Like, there's a lot of slasher films that aren't particularly well written or particularly scary, and we can still enjoy them, can't we?
It's fine. It's totally fine.
It's not terrible. It's just a bit medium for me, maybe. But it's been fun to revisit actually and talk about.
100%.
And so Dorothy was our 7th kill and our last kill, so it was 7 kills in total, so relatively low.
Yeah.
But I think that means Stevie wins that one,
Yay.
right?
Yeah.
So there you go. It's pretty even Stevens all round there. There we go. Do you have a favourite of the two? I'm guessing I know both your answers, but
MBV.
MBV for Stevie and Becky.
Yeah, it's definitely Valentine. But I do really like My Bloody Valentine as well. I really like it.
They're really fun. It was really fun to actually watch them both together as those sort of two different waves of slashers, and how they both sort of tackle Valentine's Day and everything around it as well. It was good.
Yeah, it's a cracking double bill.
It was actually a really good double bill. Yeah. Hopefully we can reunite soon, guys, and tackle another Hallmark holiday, right?
I wonder what that could be.
What's coming next?
I wonder if there's anything in store.
I wonder if anything's coming up. Check the calendar. Amazing. Guys, thank you so much for this. It's always an absolute joy. Stevie, tell us where people can find you and where they can find your incredible new podcast out there as well.
Of course. I'm a podcaster. So I've done a podcast about those so bad they're good 80s horror, the really right up my street sort of stuff, and it's called Brain Rot. And so you can find that on Twitter. It is Stevie's Brain Rot, and on Instagram it's Brain Rot Pod.
Not only does Stevie just casually get in lifts with David Boreanaz and Denise Richards, but he casually has had Stephen Fry as his guest on his 2nd episode of his podcast as well.
This is true.
No big deal. No big deal.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Becky, thank you so much as ever. It's been an absolute joy. Tell people where they can find you and more of your stuff out there.
I am at Bunny Dark on Twitter and Instagram, and at Becky Dark on Letterboxd. And I'm going back to bed now. Thank you.
Amazing. Guys, thank you so much, and happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
I love you.
Love you guys.
I love you both so much.
Once every year, as the 14th draws near, there's a hush all over the town.
And there we go. Thank you so much to everyone for listening, and a huge thank you one more time to my dream warriors, Stevie Webb and Becky Dark. Keep an eye out, because we'll be reuniting soon to tackle another Hallmark horror. But in the meantime, thank you so much for listening. Happy Valentine's, and join us again soon for another bonus episode of The Evolution of Horror.
And everyone spent the 14th in quiet regret. And those still alive know the secret survives in the darkness that looms in the night. For the legend, they say, on a Valentine's Day is a curse that'll live on and on. And no one will know, as the years come and go, of the horror from long time ago. In this little town, when the 14th comes round, there's a silence and fear in the air. Remember the morn that the legend was born, all the shock and the horror was there. Or the legend, they say, on a Valentine's Day is a curse that'll live on and on. And no one will know, as the years come and go, of the horror from long time ago. And no one will know, as the years come and go, of the horror from long time ago.